Hi, in this video we will talk about this project here. We will going through each step so that you can apply all the techniques I've used to create this. But first, let's watch it together.
I know you're probably asleep, and you'll only hear this in a few hours. God. It was just so loud before I left, but I couldn't hear myself think.
Just could have stayed. Coward. Just ran away. Should have fought. It was justified. It was just a tease. Probably new impression. Why is it so? Don't think is it just cold? We were probably sleep. You could have fixed it. It's too late. Don't write it down. Delete just noise. The trim. The toxic. Go home. The trim. Just go home.
A project like this is usually more messy than I'm showing here. I'm going through each step, showing a lot of flowcharts, and it looks more like science than it actually was. I'll be honest here, I was going back and forth and it was not really straightforward. This video was sponsored by Artlist, but I have to say I have been using Artlist since 4 years now. And even if they wouldn't have sponsored this video, I would still have used them. But we will talk about Artlist and what and why I'm using Artlist later on. First of all, we have to understand almost every project starting with this kind of like simple framework. We have to create the idea. Maybe we need a voiceover, but we definitely need visuals, audio, and post-production. That's how we create a final spec ad like this. Of course, this also applies to other form of content. Now for this project, here is the high-level pipeline. First, we of course need to identify the idea. We have to work on it. Then we need to create a voiceover, visuals, audio, post, and final ad. This video will be structured in a way where we are first talking about the why, the decisions, and later on about the how. So if you are just interested on how I did specific things, you can also skip to the later part. Right now, I'm showing a lot of flowcharts and the decisions behind those. Here are the topics we will cover today. The foundation, visual development, how I created the assets inside of Artlist, and post-production using Artlist's templates. Now, on the very first, you actually want to develop an idea. If you are working with a brand, a client, you are already restricted, which in a way is also simpler because now you don't have all those possible options, but you have to stick with their voice, their style, their campaign. This is basically how I'm always starting. I'm trying to get a feel, get inspired, and then I write a concept either with AI or without AI. I try to write a script and get a voiceover even before developing the visual references. In my process, I was getting inspiration first. So I looked around, get a sense of feel, what direction do I want here? So I was like getting inspired, taking some screenshots and writing down some notes. And basically, I was not starting with this clear idea in mind. I was like looking around, playing around, and the idea developed over time. Then I was chatting with Gemini back and forth. I already knew I wanted to do something with travel, and why not just do it for Lufthansa? Now, Lufthansa and the branding of them, it's not a fit. They would not approve this concept. But for this project, I just wanted to play around. So I came with this new tagline. Sometimes you have to leave to arrive. I like it, but it wouldn't work with Lufthansa, but more for Lacoste or Volvo. While their commercials are also emotional, it doesn't fit the brand voice. But I will not cover this in this video. We can talk about those stuff later. In a nutshell, the idea of this video was quite simple. It's this relationship and how travel helps basically to declutter all the noise inside her head. Put elements where you can still have abstractions to it and see it from your perspective and put some layers in between here. Next thing was developing the visuals. I'm starting with inspiration here. And I think I'm not the only person. I have not met one filmmaker who is not inspired by other filmmakers. I think that's just natural. And if you are doing commercials, for example, you just realize, oh yeah, I saw this commercial and I saw like where they got this inspiration from. And then you are in this bubble where you see everything at the end of the day is a copy of a copy. There is nothing so groundbreaking new. Everything has a reference basically. So yeah, you can copy, of course, more, you can copy less, but at the end of the day, it's like a remix version of existing stuff already. The next thing I've done was testing characters. Then I was finalizing a character, creating a reference sheet. I will show all of this in a bit. And then also played around with style. And I believe, or at least like for AI, this is like one of the maybe hardest step to figure out like what style do you want. I'll also talk about this in a bit. All right, when it comes to visual development, again, I've started with a character. So I've played around with different kind of characters. I've tested 1, 2, 3 different characters and thought, okay, what is the best character for this project? And of course, I had to make a decision. I chose then a final character, selected the character and created a reference. And this is basically the final character I was deciding for. For me also to make a decision, I wanted to infuse the look with the character. So how would she look like on the finished film, basically? I think that makes it incredibly simple to make a decision. You can just copy this prompt, and I will share more prompts here. You can always stop, take a screenshot, ask AI to break it down for you. To be transparent, in order for me to look for different character types, I was actually not using Artlist. I was using Google Flow. So in order for you to create and test characters, there is no perfect way of doing it. I prefer to have the style already baked into the character. If I give this same prompt to the LLM model, it will generate different kinds of variations, slightly different, okay? So keep in mind, I'm having this prompt here quite vague on purpose because I wanted to see really, like I didn't know what I wanted in first place, which why I wanted to get also inspired by the AI. So I was playing around with different character types and I was looking like, okay, what character do I want here? So you can see I had like different options and AI again helped me to write those prompts. And this is no secret, but really this is like playing around until you find something you are feeling confident with. Now, the next thing you would like to do is maybe to get a high-res image. You can go to Artlist and the Nano Banana 4K model. It will give you a nice image array. In this case, I was using an upscale model and trying different upscalers. So you can use Tropaz, Recraft. Those are very known upscalers. But to be honest, my new upscale favorite now is this model here. You don't need to do this. Again, like this is not really necessary, but for the best character results, you want to try this model out, but you can also skip this part. What you want to do next is a character reference sheet. That's really helping to simplify a lot of things. Why do we need a character reference sheet? First of all, in the previous Nano Banana model, I created a prompt guide where I was mentioning it would be better to have those massive prompts. But now with Nano Banana Pro 2, it is smart enough to understand what is the character and what is basically the reference. And we don't have to be ultra specific anymore. And if we have a reference sheet, it makes it even simpler for the AI to identify, all right, this is the character. And here you can also see how she's looking. You can include the clothes, you can include the poses, and I will share the prompt in a bit. Poses and also different lighting conditions down here. That's something you can apply for every character you develop. So you can collect the same prompt, will develop here the same character reference sheets. And again, you can take a screenshot here. This was the prompt I've used. And this is for 7 views. Sometimes it's working better with 7 views. Sometimes, like also the 5 views prompt was working better, but honestly, I was preferring this character reference way more than if I would use this one here. Okay, so here is another prompt. Again, you can take a screenshot and use it for yourself. It's working really great if you want to have character consistency here. Now, style is probably the hardest thing to figure out, especially if you don't have any background. But in this video, I'm showing you how I have simplified the process so that everyone can do it. And of course, there are other tools where you can pick cameras and stuff, but those tools are not really flexible. You have the baked-in options, but sometimes you want this little twist, and those are not helpful. For this video, I took this style here. For all the prompts, I applied this here. Again, before the prompts needed to be a little more complicated, but now with Nano Banana Pro 2, you can be super simple. Like you just need a style reference and write an action map, like what they have to do, how the image should look. That's it. So yeah, my prompt video is already outdated there, because now Nano Banana Pro 2 is that good that you don't have to be super specific. All you need are those trigger words, like what lens type, what focal length, how should it look like temperature-wise, warm, cooler, and then maybe you want also to infuse the camera. So like all those trigger words plays a huge role here. And if you are taking AI generation seriously, that's something I would highly recommend you learn. But again, I will show you how you can also do it with my simple prompt base here. So to understand what and how the prompt is looking, let's break down this prompt. So we can see on her face, and that's what I've applied to every single image here. So we have natural skin, we have visible pores, and we have, as we can see here, look at this one here. The highlights are hot, but not blown out, okay? So we see some highlights. We see some subtle film grain. So if we zoom in, it's a little grainy, but not too much. We don't want a digital look. So again, that's something you have to play around with. That can take some time. You can change slight elements and it will already have a major effect here. I have done a lot of Airtable videos. I will also cover on this channel more Airtable videos and more automation videos than actually like filmmaking itself. Because this channel is more about like the framework and the tools and how I combine that. It's not just a how-to film channel or how to create content channel. But in order for you to build this on yourself, you need those elements. You need to create a style, camera body, lens type, film stock, lighting, atmosphere, look and feel. You can, of course, add more, but that makes it incredibly simple for you to build it out. Now, why I would recommend something like this is you can customize it. That's the biggest advantage here. So let's show you how simple it is to generate like images. So this is a complete new base. It's an oversimplification of my existing like databases. Again, I have created a ton of Airtable content out there. You should check them out. If you want to rebuild this, you can rebuild this with more functionalities inside. I can create a shot. I have predefined already, as you can see here, the look and style, the camera body, focal length, film stock, lens type. And again, it's all included here. So now what we want to do is let's just write something simple, walking along the curved sand dune, and then we upload a reference image of our character reference style. We have the subject in action, all those options here where default settings, we just leave them blank. And now it's generating a prompt for, we can just use Airtable, for example, and press generate an image, and it will generate the image here based out of this prompt and the reference image. But let's take the same prompt and hop into Artlist. As I've mentioned, in Artlist, which we will talk in a bit, you can do everything, but I still prefer creating the images the way I'm doing it. So here inside, we are uploading the same reference image. We are now using the prompt. You don't have to use it, but it just shows you how simple it is. We are using now the prompt here with our setting. As we saw, we have the settings baked in the prompt, and now let's generate. Or if you are using Whisk, you upload your reference image and paste in a prompt. Or of course, like Google Flow, you can create a new project and do the same thing. There are plenty of options. And the great thing about Artlist is it combines everything. You don't have to tool switch. Like the problem is with Flow, you don't have access to Kling or the other providers. You can't do voiceovers, but here you have all in one tool. This is looking great already. The image is fantastic. It's exactly what we wanted. Grain here, a nice look. We have the character in the desert here. Amazing. We can see the results from Airtable. And now, why do I use Airtable? It's because I can customize it. And for the first step, I'm using Airtable, but for everything else, like video generation, voiceover, I have used Artlist. But I just also want to be transparent here. So I don't want to say like I have used like for the image generation Artlist, because that only be half true. I have just used it for testing and like playing around with. Now, the reason why I prefer something like Airtable is you can do it on scale. Of course, you can now click and you have the default settings. You go to the next shot and your default settings are still like baked in, which by the way, you can of course change. Now you create that and your next shot will be generated and you have everything organized. You don't need to create images inside of Airtable. You can just take the prompt and move on to Artlist, and that makes it simple. But why I'm using it here, a quick nutshell, what you can do. You can visualize it in a different way. You can see your shot list items here and add more records. If you are interested, I will do another video next week, more in depth, also not like the simple prompt base, but a very dedicated, like with talents and shot lists and scenes. But it will come like maybe in the following weeks here. But anyway, so you have your shot list items, but what makes it powerful is how fast you can generate things. Instead of copy pasting, if you know you have specific settings, you just change the grid view. Let's make it smaller. Now we can copy existing settings. It will apply all the prompts for us. Let's go to our shot list and copy a couple of shots. We can now paste it and we can ask 7 values, maybe add more. Now, this part could be completely automated. Watch the other videos for that. This is just an oversimplification. Now, we can drag the reference image and copy the same styles we just developed, or like this prompt helper here developed. And now we can just generate all those images here. So we can see it's quite fast and straightforward. To show you why you can use it directly with Artlist, we have this formula here stitching the prompt for us. What we can do now is copy the prompt with the style and generate it like this. So now we don't have to, we can just stick here inside of Artlist in combination with Airtable here. And that makes it incredibly simple. So we just go here from image to image and we can see it's making the steps and the process really fast. We can see we go from image to image and we are able to apply one style for all the images, and while I'm copy pasting, it's already generating all those nice images for us with the style we just defined. I hope you can see that this is really speeding up the process here. And now let's switch the view here in Airtable, and as we can see, we have now those nice images. Character consistency is on point, the style great, absolutely amazing. And here we go, we have again similar images. Of course, it's the same model, like we have Nano Banana here and we have Nano Banana there. The biggest advantage on Artlist is you have way more models. Again, we will talk of Artlist in a bit. And sometimes it's not doing a good job, like on this image here. Yeah, it's not the right character, but it's okay. Just look at those images here. They are really looking fantastic. Amazing style, the look and the feel is good. I was making sure with this video, how can I simplify it for you that everyone can apply it? That's why I believe you should get this simplified prompt helper here. And the good thing is you can also change the settings. And once you have set up something like that, you can customize things. So let's say you want to know more about the camera. You have the camera, you have the related shots to this camera. And this makes it simple here. You can change the description, the camera type. And so if you're interested in this simple prompt base, it includes all the important cameras, the camera body. Just changing the camera will make the style different. You have the focal length, the lens type. So it's basically what Higgsfield is also doing, but I would say much better because you can really customize it. You can include your own style. You can change however you like. So yeah, that speeds up the process. So if you are interested and you don't want to use Airtable, but you want to stick with Notion or Google Sheets, this is basically what you have to do. You have to create camera options table with all those variables. And then you need to include prompt segments for those variables, like how should it act? You need a formula, something like this. So you can build it yourself. This is like a formula for Airtable, but AI is smart enough. You just do a screenshot here and ask it to write a formula for you for your Google Sheets. So again, you don't need to use Airtable for this. You can stick with whatever software you prefer. My image generation process was a little bit messy. I was getting inspired. I was looking around and it was like not straightforward because I was not having like a clear idea. I really wanted to get inspired while I was doing. So I basically was having like either a multi-step examples. So either I did it with a multi-step process or just direct prompts as I've showed you here. So it was like a combination of both. To give you an example, some of those images really were coming from mood reference. So there is this famous Lacoste commercial. I love this commercial, amazing commercial. I was taking this reference image, asking AI, hey, I need the same image, but from this and this perspective. And it took me some iteration until I get from this image to this image here. I just took this image here. It's a tiny crop. I did a screenshot, added my character and changed the perspective for this image. I think I took 3 iterations to get it done this way. But this is also a quite straightforward way. So once you have your style, you have like your what you want, you can always use the Nano Banana to iterate the image further. On some images, as you can see, it took me a lot of iterations. This was the starting image. I really wanted to play around with the lighting on her face. And until I get it done, I don't know how many iterations it took, but it took quite a lot. And this was the final image I was taking because I really wanted to have the light here on her face and there was always something missing. This was not good enough. The light was not right. Sometimes it just takes more iteration and that's just the honest truth here. All right, now let's talk about the assets creation beyond actually just the images here. So Why Artlist? I'm super thankful that they have sponsored this video, and I just want to show you why this is such a really amazing platform here. And not only because they sponsored the video, but when we look about the entire process and all the fragments, all the elements we need, we have this board here with all those things we need to do. But when we look closer, what Artlist actually is, again, I have been using it already before they have reached out to me. I have been using it for years, not just for AI creation, but for music, sound design, plugins, everything. Now, everything in yellow, that's the stuff you can do with Artlist. So while you maybe need something else to develop your script, everything else can be done with Artlist. Everything here in yellow. So that's literally 80% of the entire project. Now, Artlist just introduced Artlist AI Toolkit, and that makes it even simpler for you to work. I have showed already a little bit based on the image generation how it looks like, but we will go through it more in specific. But that's incredible because now you have everything under a hood, and now you can organize it also by projects. That's amazing. So you have a seamless flow here. All right, this is how Artlist is looking like. If you are new to Artlist, this is basically an all-in-one platform. They are coming from stock footage and stock music, which means they have been doing it already for years. Soon they will also launch Studio, and we can have a look at the preview here. And that basically allows you even to have more built in. They want to include like everything that was missing basically from this chart here. So it's taking everything with the characters, slide editing, generation, voiceovers, and so much more. But since it's coming soon and we will not cover this, let's just start here by what Artlist is, and this is how they have been starting here. So Artlist, again, library of music, sound effects here. You can cover LUTs. So a LUT, again, is, think of it like a color grading preset. They have plenty of LUTs here. They have also tools, which is amazing. And when we are going and talking about the post-production process, we will also talk about tools here and how you can use it for your project. And of course, they have also AI Toolkit. But before I would even start, the first thing I would do here, and that's already fantastic in Artlist, you can create an artboard here. So here you can describe whatever project you want. So let's just say you want to generate a travel commercial, similar like what I've did. And now that's already one great thing here. They will suggest you already, based with some AI algorithms or whatever they've done, they will suggest music, they will suggest foot, VFX, and so on. So now you can start actually by already like getting inspired by the collection. They suggest the more context you give, for example, sad or whatever trigger words, the better the results will be here. So keep in mind, that's quite amazing because for every film you need music, for every film you need VFX, SFX, you need like all those elements here. And here you can listen to suggested music and SFX sounds here. And that saves you a lot of time. Keep in mind, like an ad like that, SFX plays a huge role, and that makes the process so much faster and cleaner. You can find all the SFX here and add more to it. One thing also we have to mention is their spotlight, because let's be honest, you have sound design elements in mind, but you don't know like what and how to search for them. And here under spotlight, they have this collection. You can browse and you can look for themes, and that makes it incredibly simple. So now, for example, in my case, I was using a lot of whooshes. Instead of describing what I want, I go to the pre-selected collection and have all the whooshes. I can start listening, go through all those sound effects, listen at them, and play. That's really great. And now I can save all and everything into my travel Artlist artboard here. So that's already incredibly helpful. Now you can start to collect everything you need, like your music, your sound effects. But let's talk now about their newest edition and why this is amazing as well, the AI tool. So as you can see, you have a collection of boards. I was trying it for other projects because this is something they just released. And here, like faceless content, how it would look like here. That's not like the project I want to talk about, but you can see it's working great. You have all the assets, you can generate whatever, or let's just say you want to work on a cartoon project, something like this, also quite great here. But of course, we are talking about this commercial here. So the first thing you notice is you can switch to two different modes. You can either create videos and images or voiceovers. All right, let's jump into how I created the actual voiceover. We have plenty of models to choose from, and we can also create our own voice. Let's say I want to clone my voice. Now you can use 11 Labs, MiniMax, and so on. 11 Labs is currently the most popular option, and you can also change your voices here. So here you have plenty of voice options, and as I've mentioned, you can also create a custom voice. You just have to upload audio files, and now you have your own personal AI voice. But that's something we will not talk about today. For this project, I just needed a female voice, and I was like looking and playing around, and you can sort and filter it through female, and I was actually using two types of voices. So I was using Gloom, and I was also using Secrets here for the whisper sounds. The great thing about Artlist is you can already apply effects, and not only that, but you can also apply some emotional effects here. I was more pleased with the MiniMax version, so I was using that. You can basically copy here your voiceover snippets and you just paste it, and now you can change whatever. For example, here, the sadness factor, and you can, of course, add also effects here, which make it also for non-technical users absolutely a breeze and super simple here. So let's just add whatever phone effect and generate something new. Hey, how are you doing? And let's hear it.
Hey, how are you doing?
Perfect. That was simple. In order for me to create the most realistic possible voice, I created multiple versions. That's something you have to play around with. I had an initial different plan. I was trying to do the full conversation, but then it didn't feel right, which is why I was creating those voices and then layer them on top of each other. So as you can see here, like I was really playing it until I got the sweet spot. That can take some time, again, like depending on your needs here. Now let's switch back to image and video create. And as I've already mentioned, the great thing is that you have those sessions. You can think about that like your project folder. You can see all the iterations from all the images, and that's absolutely great. And now it's like literally just playing around with different kind of prompts. Again, like the only thing you need to take care of are trigger words. So let's look into some of those prompts I've used. So here, very simple language, very short snippets of memory, her laughing, crying, screaming, all emotion, match cuts, same background, flash, flicker lights. That's really not a fancy prompt at all. We can look into those flying moments here. You can see this is the prompt that I've used here. This model was Seed Dance, but I prefer Kling 2.6 more. The Kling model looks already way better, as you can see here, quite nice. I wanted to have this rotation here, and sometimes it worked. Of course, you need sometimes to generate multiple images, really, if you want something like more complicated. But here is also the prompt. Again, like there is no secret sauce here. It's just like you have to look for those trigger words. And again, one really great source is iCandy. You can find great trigger words because you can see the effects here. You just need to click on those examples. For example, you like this one here, you like this effect. You just click on this effect, and all you need are the techniques here. Let's just say here, echo point and motion blur. If you are not familiar with those terms, that's how you can literally save yourself a lot of time by just browsing and getting inspired. And they have already here a collection of those trigger words. I also have crafted here this sheet. Those are basically how you can do transitions between two objects and making them smooth. Here you can just copy and do some screenshots. I will hover over it. So here, different wipe transitions, object portal transitions, match cut transitions, rotoscope transitions, invert transitions, collage transitions, zoom transitions, dolly transitions, whip transitions, combined techniques, atmospheric transitions, and here also like how to use it, like do quick screenshot and apply if you need those more fancy transitions or crazy camera movements. It's quite an extensive list here, and that would just take too much time talking about all kinds of transitions and what all you can do here. So in order for you also to create a video, again, like this is incredible simple here. You just need to press generate video. You select a start frame. Some models have start and end frame, for example, for crazy transitions. And now you can also have those options here as usual. So here you have plenty of models, which is absolutely great. Again, instead of switching between like provider and provider, you have all models under one hub, and that makes it incredibly simple here. So you can then look for basically the model you prefer. My favorite model as of now for most use cases is Kling 2.6, even though Sora, VO 3.1, they have also some advantages. And for example, if you want dialogue, that's great. You can use VO. If you want a finished video with edits, you can use Sora 2. So let's go back to the previous board we created with the Airtable prompts. Select here the image. The great thing is you don't have to jump. You can just click on the image or turn this into a video, generate video, and now it's loading inside. You have your model and you can put anything into it, like maybe, and again, like sometimes writing or not being specific give even like better outcomes than just being hyper specific. On photo, be as specific as you can. On video, sometimes like something vague, emotional look already gives a better results than having those huge prompts here. And now you can take any image and transform that into a video. There are plenty of sheets already. I've covered that in my other video. You can actually also use like very simple instructions. Please push back with the camera. Either you add more filmic trigger words here like dolly, FPV and stuff like that, or you just keep it simple and something like we push back with the camera and subject is looking away from the camera. And now all you need to do is generate either with sound or without. Let's just generate it and see how it's looking. After a minute or so, you have your finished video. Let's have a look. Let's make it bigger. And here we go. Exactly what we prompted. Keep the prompt simple. Usually that gives better results than try to overcomplicate it here. Unless you need, of course, like those crazy transitions, hyperdynamic shots. But then you have to generate more because it can lead to more errors and misunderstandings. If you have a simple image with a simple prompt, that's already the safe bet here. Now, to be honest, that's all good here and you could already be happy with that. But the reason why I think Artlist is also so powerful is that they have tools and templates. I think that's something which other tools really do not offer. One really great thing about Artlist is they have an extension where you can generate already inside your editing software everything you need here. You have an AI assistant that removes filler words and plugins, which I've been using on that film as well. I just use Artlist plugins. And I will show you like after this round tour here about Artlist, like all the post-production, and we can go through it. Now, this is great, but one thing that has been there already before all this new updates and that I was using quite extensively are the templates. That's something super helpful, especially if you create YouTube videos or need simple and quick animations. Here you can find all the necessary like pre-built animation and now you can just customize them really quickly. Like one of the effects that you probably saw quite a lot were the prism effects. I'm using Final Cut, so all you need to do is select the software you are using. So After Effects, Adobe Premiere, DaVinci, in my case, Final Cut here. And now you can already see all the effects that are available for your software. And here you can see, besides all the infographics, they also have actually like transition elements, the transition like templates, but also tools. And let's just dive into tools here. And now you can see all those effects. So for example, you want to have this VHS effect. You just download it and now you have those effects. Again, like this is an extensive database of effects. And if you think about that, like if you would buy those plugins individually, those would already be quite expensive. And here you have them all in one place and they have really this huge amount of effects you can apply. And for this spec ad here, I was using quite a lot this effect. As you can see, it's like pre-built, basically drag and drop. Done. All right. So it is really making it incredibly simple to have those effects already applied. And again, that has been very helpful. So yeah, that's like the overview of Artlist and how I've used this in the project. Again, like I was using it for voiceover, voice refinement, and a little bit character development. Though I have to say in my workflow, I've used like more Google Flow. And also you can use it for style exploration, image generation, video generation, music, sound, color, LUT effects. Like literally almost everything. And when they are launching their studio, you can probably do more with it. That's great to have it all in one platform. And if you're interested, I will also put a link in the description or maybe as a first comment. And then you can have a look into Artlist if you are interested. And in terms of pricing, they also have those two options here where you can either just take all the AI credits and work with that. But to be honest, if you are creating content and you need all those elements like I do, then I would probably go with Artlist Max. They have the credits included and everything I talked about, like the LUTs, the plugins, and so on and so on. All right, let's jump into the editing. This will be the last part. The editing software really doesn't matter. You can use any editing software, Premiere Pro, DaVinci, or whatever, CapCut, it's up to you. So I will just go over like some effects and how I used what, and also explain how you can utilize plugins in a great way. If that would be like a real commercial project, again, I'm trying to explain it. This is not a real commercial project here. Then the workflow would look a little bit different. For example, for color grading, you might use another software like DaVinci. For sound design, you might use another software. If that will be more professional, you would separate those entities a little bit. In this project, I wanted to get the fastest result with the least amount of work, the best possible quality done. I hope that's clear. There is this rule. You spend 20% of the work and then you get 80% of the results. That's what we get here. We can tweak it, but then it would take me much more time. Now, those presets here that I am applying, they make it more into what I want. Of course, depending on your project, those could look completely different. You can apply them here. As you can see on the side, I have my Artlist plugins. You just have to download the plugin extension and now you can get them here and apply sharpening and other effects. At the top, we can see tone coloring, film grain, high pass sharpening. Those are all from Artlist. We can turn everything off and on. So you see it's subtle, but it do something, all right? Again, this is something, a preference choice. You don't need to apply those templates. For example, you could argue like, hey, now it's her. Why are you doing it? And why do you apply more grain? Didn't you destroy the image? Again, this is something you can make a choice on. But I wanted to have this look. I wanted to give it those presets with a specific reason. I have also applied a radial filter. Again, for me, this is always a nice way to put focus in the center. I have added a simple color board, and all I did here, nothing fancy at all, was just to pull down all the highlights. So this is how it's looking like without effects, much brighter. But what I did was pull down all the highlights here and increase the saturation a little bit, because if you pull the highlights, you will lose a little bit saturation. So now it's making the image just a tiny bit darker. That's it. Like, you could spend more time, enhance the skin, put more and layers, but again, like 20-80 rule. We spent 20% of the work here and get 80% of the results I want. So it's about memories, and I wanted to have this kind of like memory feel vibe, which why I also applied this little zoom blur effect here. Not on every image. I took it out where I wanted to have more focus on her. For example, here I didn't apply that, only this radial blur. As we can see, it really softens the edges a little bit here. And as a last effect, I also applied a LUT. Again, this is a preference choice. It's just boosting the highlights a little bit and adding a tiny touch of contrast. Of course, you can always add more. Let's crank it up here. You can see this is without, and here all the way. And now you could argue you prefer this more or less. This is up to you. And you can choose from more LUTs here. So that's all the templates and effects I've applied for this project. I also did a separation. The idea was in the first and last part, I did not add any prism effects because those are the reality shots, real shots without entering this dreamy emotional world. So I also tried not to put too much of those zoom blur effect, only a tiny touch of it. But then when we are entering this world, that's where I've actually applied the prism effect here. So it's just one effect, and that basically add this effect here. And to show you how simple it is, well, let's use this image as an example. Let's say you want to add this prism effect. You need to download it first because it's not part of their hub library. It's under this template section I just showed before. Then you just select the prism effect and select what kind of type you want. And now you have this nice prism effect. It doesn't always make sense to apply those effects, but if it has a reason, then you can apply, and you can see it's simple. You can preview what you like. Let's just say I love this style here because that's what I've used also. You just drag and drop it. Done. That was simple, right? Now you have some customization options. You can reduce the opacity of those duplications, and you can increase the color, streaks, make it black and white, This is basically up to you, but let's just take it out. Very simple here. I just adjusted some of the images, the amount of those blur filters. That's it. Very simple blur stack here. And we can see film grain. Sometimes I added more, sometimes less. That's something I've adjusted because, for example, on this image, it was too much. I was copy and pasting every effect. So it was like one effect for all to all the video clips here. And then I just adjusted. Sometimes the LUT was too much. Sometimes the film grain was too much. So here you can just adjust basically to your liking. Actually, sound design was playing a huge role. And as you can see here, it's quite a lot of different sounds I put and stacked together. I'm not a sound designer. And again, the great thing about Artlist is if you have no idea where to start, you just go to Spotlight, FX collection. They have a great collection. Example transitions or whooshes. Those are collections. I've browsing and then just downloading like the sound elements I thought were quite helpful. And now you are just stacking and playing all those sounds together here. Now let's take a look without music so you understand the layers of sound effects. Again, like this is something you just have to play around. Let's have a look here.
Before I left, but I couldn't hear myself think.
Yeah, why didn't I just say you stayed? Cow just ran away. Should have fought. It was justified. It was just a tease, probably. Why is it so? Don't think is it just
Okay, so there you have all the layers. And I think one thing you also notice is all those sounds and the whisper voices in her head. I created a composition. So it's all those voices, but here inside, that's something you can do with other software as well. I just double click here and can go inside the composition because it would be too much if I would also stack all the voices here inside. So here you can go inside, and the way I've been doing it was just ask Gemini, hey, give me a list of a monologue she could have. We can see like the raw, like that was something I get from Artlist here. Here you say...
He's probably sleeping. He's probably happy. Don't think fixed it. Too late.
But of course, that would be too boring if we just have her monologue there, which why I really wanted to have this confusion feel. And now I was stacking those voices together here. So you can see it overlapping here on purpose, of course. So let's have a look here, how it sounds without anything else, also no video.
Why didn't I just say you stayed? Cow just ran away. Should have fought. It was justified. It was just.
Yeah, so that's how I created that. And I think in combination with the sound effects, we have this dreamy feel and vibe here where it's a dream, a memory. So that's something you can see however you like here. Yeah, that's basically it. In order to speed up the process, again, like we could have do the transitions better, spend more time iterating. I was trying to fake it in a way that, for example, I was using here the butterflies to have here the transitions basically, which makes it also smoother because now we go from flying with the butterfly here to the next shot, to the next shot. If you are not like going frame by frame, it has already this illusion of a great transition. So it's like really me spending no time and effort here in the transition itself. Sometimes I did those micro cuts. So for example, I had here this image of her flying and did not apply effects, but then just a tiny bit here. And if you add sound design below that, you have this kind of micro confusion here. It was just this tiny sound effect, but I think in combination here with those like really micro frames together with the sound element here, it really gives this whole thing a little bit more depth. Let's have a look again. I hope it's something you can hear. But yeah. All right, that was a tour of the entire process from start to end.
I know you're probably asleep, and you'll only hear this in a few hours. God. It was just so loud before I left, but I couldn't hear myself think.
Yeah, why didn't I just say you stayed? Cow just ran away. Should have fought. It was justified. It was just a tease, probably. New impression. Why is it so? Don't think is it just we were probably. You could have fixed it. It's too late. Don't
I hope you were able to learn and take some lessons or prompts or whatever you found useful. I will put all the links in the description. So try to use Airtable, try to use Artlist, try to use the prompt builder. So if you're interested to learn more about systems, automations, and how we can fuse that together with content creations. And I know with all those graphs, it look more like science than actually it is. You just have to go and play around with it. The best way to learn is really by doing.